All Indiana Politics is your premier source for Indiana politics, focusing on issues that matter to you.
I still want us to be the best in the Midwest.
We can't afford another lockdown.
Give the citizens of this country the relief they need.
Education in the state of Indiana remains priority number one.
In-depth, nonpartisan coverage.
We don't know exactly where the economy will be in January.
People are worried with good reason.
Exclusive interviews with Indiana's political leaders.
We have the resources here in the state of Indiana to care for those who are in need.
Expert analysis on critical legislation.
We need to reform those laws.
This recovery is going to take some time.
We've got to anticipate that there'll be a budget shortfall.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network.
Good morning and welcome to a special pre-election edition of All Indiana Politics. I'm Garrett Bergquist, in for Phil Sanchez. In just 2 days, you, the voters, will decide our next governor, our next U.S. senator, and of course our next president. Election officials in many Indiana counties already report high voter turnout. I recently sat down with the chairs of the Indiana Republican and Democratic parties. We talked about the state of the election and what races they're watching on Tuesday night.
I'm feeling really good. Our candidates have worked really hard. We've got a strong ticket, and we feel like things are on the right track.
In terms of vote margins, what makes a good night for you?
Winning is winning no matter what. We've got some competitive races certainly, but winning all these races is going to be a big deal for us, and that's going to be a pass-fail course. The margin is going to be just fine.
There's been a lot of attention on the state level races, the congressional races. What's one under the radar race that you're really going to have your eye on Tuesday night?
I'm taking a look at some state house races. There's a race in Bloomington, Brown County, and Jackson County with Dave Hall I'm going to be taking a look at. And that's not under the radar to Dave or anyone in that area of the state, but that's going to be a good bellwether, I think, to tell us if we're going to have a fantastic night or just a good night. Scott Hawkins and Wendy Dantchester down on the river is another state house race that I'll have my eye on for the same reasons.
Were you surprised that the delegates to the state party convention this summer chose Micah Beckwith over Julie McGuire for lieutenant governor? And it's worth noting you were not the chair at the time.
Right, I was the convention chairman, but not the state party chairman at the time. So I had I don't want to say bird's eye, I had an up front and up close view of everything. After his presentation on stage, it wasn't a surprise. He was very well organized. He got a lot of his supporters to run for delegate. He ran a very good campaign, and the results were what they were.
Beckwith has made a series of controversial comments both before and after getting the nomination. Most recently, he said that he wanted to deport Haitian refugees who are in Logansport under temporary protected status. Are you worried that comments like that might make him a liability to the Braun campaign?
No, I think that Micah represents a portion of our party that felt neglected, and he recruited those people and organized and worked very well, and he ran a great convention race. I think after the election over, he's going to be a good partner to Mike Braun, and Mike Braun's going to be in charge.
Does someone with a history of comments like that belong a heartbeat away from the governor's chair?
Oh, I don't know about a history of comments like that. He said some things that are controversial, certainly, and that make people think and that make people stretch some. But I think that he's going to learn as he goes along. And like I said, he's going to be a good partner. Mike Braun's going to be in charge, and Micah is going to be in charge of the things the lieutenant governor is in charge with. Mike Braun will make the overall policy for things that the executive branch needs to do. And I'm very comfortable with Mike Braun doing that. He's well situated. He's got a great record, a lot of experience, and he's the right candidate.
How much impact do you think the national level races, and particularly the race for president, are going to have on the state level races, especially the down ballot races? Because we got a lot of county and judicial races on the ballot, too.
We do, all on the ballot. We do, all over the state. There are a lot of those. I think that Donald Trump's going to have some coattails in Indiana. He had them before when he ran both times, and I think that trend's going to continue. Indiana's a strong state for Trump. Earlier, we were first on the board. I think that we'll be first or close to it on the board for him again on November 5th. I think our down ballot races are going to be affected by that in a good way.
You know, I'm feeling really good. I think that our candidates are closing strong. I think that Jennifer McCormick has run a great campaign for governor. Obviously, there's been a lot of attention around the outside money that's come in from both the Democratic Governors Association and the Republican Governors Association. Both those groups would not be playing in Indiana if it wasn't a close race. And so we are doing everything we can down the home stretch to get as many Hoosiers as possible to vote.
In terms of vote margin, margins, what will make a good night for you?
Obviously, a good night and a great night would be if Jennifer McCormick is the next governor of Indiana and the first woman governor of Indiana. That would be historic, and that would be a clear win. There's no question that our party has rebuilded over the last few years. I've worked really hard at that. Our candidates have, our volunteers have, our donors have, our supporters have, our voters have. My hope is that we just show that we are extremely competitive in Indiana and that we can win a race like governor.
How did the selection of Micah Beckwith as Mike Braun's running mate change the game for Democrats over the last few months?
Yeah, I think that it's interesting. Mike Braun won their primary, I think, with under 40% of the vote. And so, that's a big number of folks who did not vote for Mike Braun for governor on the Republican side of the aisle. And I don't know if he's fully consolidated the Republican Party just a few days out before the election. I think that there's a lot of folks who preferred some other candidate and are open to other candidates for governor. And so, number one, he did not have a great showing on that primary night. I think the second thing is the first pick that you have as a nominee is to pick your running mate, and he came up short in that. He actually wasn't able to pick the person that he wanted to run alongside. And so, Micah Beckwith, no question that he's out there with some of his views, some of his extremism, some of the things that he posts and comments about. And we've been very clear in trying to highlight that consistently at the party, that Hoosier voters need to know what this guy's about and what he stands for. And so Mike Braun didn't select him, doesn't want to campaign alongside him, but he stuck with him. And so we need to make sure that Hoosiers know the full extent of the extremism within that ticket.
What are some down ballot issues that you're going to be watching closely on election night, races that you think will be a good barometer?
I think there's no question that places like Hamilton County are really the epicenter of a lot of change in Indiana. This is a county that decades ago was one of the most conservative, most Republican counties in the state of Indiana. Over the last few cycles, Joe Biden has done well there. Destiny Wells has done well there. Joe Donnelly has done well there. Carmel, Fishers, Westfield, Noblesville, those places. These are places that are changing very rapidly. They're growing very rapidly. Highly educated workforce coming here for jobs, things like that. Great schools in those communities. These are people that I think reject sort of Trump-style politics and want a state government, want a national government that's just focusing on normal issues. And so that will be a really interesting place to watch on election night when polls close.
Coming up, we turn to Indiana's best political team, what they're watching for on election night. Welcome back to All Indiana Politics as we welcome in two members of Indiana's best political team, Republican Whitley Yates and Democrat Ariel Brandy. Ladies, Election Day is finally almost here. Let's begin with the big one, the race for governor. Whitley, what pieces need to fall into place for Mike Braun? Where are the areas, be they parts of the state, parts of the electorate, that could put him over the top, and where might he have some weak areas?
The Freedom and Opportunity Tour has been going great. He's already toured 92 counties in the state of Indiana, so he needs to continue to reach out, continue to connect with rural voters, and making sure that their voices get heard. So staying in southern Indiana and also in northwest and northeast Indiana is going to be pivotal in making sure that he drives turnout and that we have a successful night on Election Day.
Ariel, similar question to you. Jennifer McCormick has consistently trailed Braun in both polls and fundraising. Where does she need to do well to flip this seat?
Well, I think she's doing a great job already. As you all have seen, we've had a lot of national funding pour into this race. So that means that this race for governor is on the map, not only just for us, but nationally people are paying attention to what's going to happen here in Indiana on Election Day, specifically with this. I think one of the great things that Jennifer McCormick has done, she's obviously traveled the state. She's been engaging Hoosier voters, not only in northern parts of the state where sometimes it feels like we're not, topic of discussion and it's more central Indiana. Indiana. But I think she's speaking directly to Hoosiers about the things that they really care about. But also, too, it's important to say that her running mate is someone who also has served already and is someone who doesn't have that type of culture, MAGA vibes that people are kind of turned off from. Not having, Micah Beckwith being someone that she's running with, I think people are kind of looking for an alternative. So for all around, I think the Democratic ticket for governor gives Hoosiers an alternative of something else they can vote for if they're not choosing to vote for Braun and Beckwith.
Now, Libertarian Donald Rainwater took home 11% of the vote in 2020. If he takes home a similar amount this time, who does that help more? Ariel?
Who does that help more? I mean, it's always tough when you have a third person in the race sometimes because it obviously does shift the game. But I think at the end of the day, a lot of folks haven't really been paying attention to Rainwater, at least from my perspective and the voters that I've been talking to. But I think it does essentially kind of take away from the potential voter base that probably Braun was looking at trying to engage, which are those independents, folks who are on the sidelines, not really sure. I think it offers up an opportunity for progressives to kind of go in the direction of Jennifer McCormick. Someone who might speak directly to the values, might not be all the way on the left, but at least is willing to listen and kind of take some of those things into accountability.
Whitley, how about you?
In 2020, Rod Kendall predicted there was going to be a rainstorm in Indiana, and he got 11%. But we were in unprecedented times during COVID, and people were really upset by the mandates that were coming down, specifically from the administration at that time. We are no longer in COVID, and so utilizing that to stand on is no longer going to be substantive. So I don't think you're going to see Donald Rainwater's numbers in the polls, specifically on Election Day, and with the voters trending as high as they did when he had 11% before. I don't think we're going to have a rainstorm again, but I am excited that everyone is participating within this democratic process, and we are seeing multiple candidates step up to the plate.
This is a question I asked the party chairs. I'll ask you both this as well. Besides the headliners, which races at the state level do we need to watch for on Tuesday night? Whitley?
I'm going to say probably Brett Clark's race is what we need to watch, as well as Danny Lopez's race. I think that those are two really good races where you're going to be able to see where the voters are feeling and how they're going to be moving and shifting throughout the rest of Indiana. So those are two state house races that I am focused on currently that I think will be indicative of trends that we're going to see later on November 5th.
Ariel?
Yeah, so two races that I'm going to be looking at up here in northern Indiana. Heidi Beidinger is running against Dale Devon. And I think, with us having jumped into the race for the second time, this being Heidi's second time running, I think she's going to close the margins a little bit. And this time we'll be able to take on victory up here in northern Indiana. So that's one of the races that I'm going to be paying attention to. And then I would also say Tiffany Stoner and Becky Cash's race. That's going to be one that everyone's going to be looking at. I mean, when we think about reproductive freedom and the abortion ban in the state of Indiana, looking at central Indiana and some of the dynamics of those state house races are going to be pivotal because those people were some of the first to be able to kind of bring along some of this legislation to the state house. And with that being an issue that is top of the ticket for voters, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to what happens there in that area.
All right, stick around. When we come back, we'll turn to the national races. Welcome back to All Indiana Politics. Still with us are Democrat Ariel Brandy and Republican Whitley Yates. Let's turn to the presidential race. The polls have been virtually tied for weeks or show a very slight lead for Donald Trump. Ariel, what groups will Kamala Harris have to rely on, and has she done all she can to reach them?
I think she has, and I think that the momentum of her jumping into the race really shifted how this campaign was going, but also, too, just how we were looking at national politics. I mean, obviously, she's been campaigning really hard to secure and make sure that not only are Black voters aligned with her, but specifically Black men, and a lot of the policies directed towards them, but also, too, really engaging the younger generation. I know we've seen a lot of really great content come out of her campaign that that has been directed and also created by the younger generation to make sure that we're engaging them in a way in which they're actually participating in this election cycle. And let's also not forget that, she has some mending and some base building to be able to do with our Muslim voters and Arab voters across the country. And I think that that's something that she's continuing to try to build the support for, and is going to be pivotal in whether or not those folks actually do turn out for her.
Whitley, similar question to you regarding Donald Trump. So I want you to hit on that, but also his campaign has been in damage control mode after a comedian called Puerto Rico a pile of garbage at Trump's Madison Square Garden rally. Can he afford a controversy of this magnitude this close to the election?
I don't think it was a controversy of any magnitude. The truth is that he was a comedian and he was telling jokes. And at the exact same rally for Walls, you had George Lopez calling, Mexican Americans thieves and making the same types of innuendos. The truth is the American people don't care about the quips or the idioms from comedians. They care about the policies of the person running for president. And the truth is, if America really liked what they were getting from the Biden administration, i.e. the Harris administration, because she said she wouldn't do anything different, then the polls wouldn't be this close. Then Americans wouldn't have such a deprecatory view of the trajectory that America is on. And so Donald Trump needs to just focus on those table kitchen issues, focus on what's going to improve our pockets. We don't need to continue to talk about our wounds. And that is what is going to make America affordable again, which is where we need to be.
So the polls here in Indiana close at 6 p.m. Eastern in most counties, so we will be one of the first states to report results. This is for both of you. Which parts of the state should we watch as barometers for the rest of the country? I'm particularly interested in Hamilton and Vigo counties. Whitley, you go first.
I would also say Hamilton and Vigo County as well. I would say Hamilton County is so purple these days. And if it goes red, like I believe that it will, I do believe it will be indicative that Indiana will go red. Now, Vigo County is a little bit different because we've seen it go back and forth. I think Vigo County is like the swing county of Indiana. So how Vigo County does and Hamilton County will do, I do believe will be indicative. But I see Indiana being ruby red as always.
Whitley, to what extent would you say Hamilton and Vigo counties would be bellwethers nationally?
Are you asking me?
To what extent would you say, though, those two counties we just discussed would count as national bellwethers?
It's really hard to say because what we're facing in Indiana and the types of issues that we're facing here are very different from what they're looking at in Arizona. It's very different from what voters are looking at in Pennsylvania. Right now, America is very fractured and we're all reeling from what we're feeling, but we're feeling different things because immigration affects us differently up here. So I don't necessarily call them bellwethers nationally, but I do think it would be indicative of what's happening in the Midwest.
Ariel, how about you?
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement. We're going to be looking at what's happening in Hamilton County. I do think that, Hamilton County and the surrounding areas can be a barometer of how suburbs across the nation are going to be shifting. I mean, we've seen this happen in other states across the country. And I think specifically for us, because it is so purple, and we know that Hoosiers are most of the time in that area voting on the issues that are most important to them, not necessarily always the candidate, but what is moving them when it comes to their families and what they care about. So I think it is going to be telling to be able to see. Other areas that I'm paying attention to outside of Vigo County, I'm going to be looking at Northern Indiana, some of our Democratic strongholds. How does Lake County perform? How St. Joseph County perform? Trying to see, if we continue in the trend of keeping those areas of the state as democratically, blue areas. I'm also going to be looking at Vanderburgh County. I know that's an area that a lot of folks necessarily always count out, but with seeing some of the shifts that happen in 2023, with them gaining a Democratic mayor, first Black woman, I'm really interested to see if those turnout trends continue to go in that direction and we continue to see more voters of color continue to turn out and kind of shift the direction of the southern part of the state. So that's kind of what I'm looking at going into Election Day nationally, and really interested to see, will we be one of the first to go completely red? I'm a little skeptical. I'm always holding out hope for, another 2008 situation where Indiana can go blue. And I do think that we have the possibility to be able to do so.
Ariel, you raised 2008, and right after Kamala Harris went to the convention and secured the nomination, there was some talk among Democrats comparing this to Barack Obama's 2008 campaign. Now that we've had a chance for the campaign to unfold since then, do you still believe that is an accurate comparison?
I wouldn't say it's necessarily the same type of comparison. I do think that now there is more hope and, Democratic voters and just voters all around being able to, feel like there can be some change that could be made. Now, Whitley did make a point. It's more divided than what it was. There are a lot of things that are on the line that have become controversial issues that necessarily weren't before, and now they are.
Ariel, I've got about 40 seconds left. Whitley, I saw you shaking your head. I want to give you the last word here.
I mean, Barack Obama himself has stated that Kamala Harris is not doing well, specifically with African Americans and those being Black men. So it is absolutely nothing like the blue wave that we saw in 2008. And anyone who says that it is gaslighting you.
All right. Ladies, thank you so much. We will be back right after this.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for All Indiana Politics. Please remember to get out and vote and tune in for our special election night coverage here on Wish TV.
From Wish TV, this is All Indiana Politics Podcast on the All Indiana Podcast Network. Watch All Indiana Politics live Sunday mornings at 9:30 on Wish TV and at wishtv.com. Subscribe to this podcast and listen weekly here on the All Indiana Podcast Network. And be sure to discover even more great podcasts at allindianapodcastnetwork.com.